Hey everyone, so here is the next DIY tank build. I am going to be redoing my Eastern Newt Paludarium. I have 3 Eastern Newts in here. I've had these in my collection the longest. There's just a lot of hard water stains on the glass. It's an internal filter versus what I like to use now, which is external canister filters. Makes maintenance a lot easier. And I'm just really want to give them something a little bit nicer. It's just, I kind of threw this together and it meets all their needs. It's fine. There's all the plants have grown in nicely, and I hate to tear it up, but I will reuse as many of the plants as I can in driftwood and rocks. And so this will be the next build, and I will be showing it to you now. Hey everybody, so now I have emptied the aquarium. I got everything out, the rock, substrate, plants, animals, everything, all the old structure I threw away. I cleaned everything out with Barkeeper's Friend, which got rid of most of the hard water stains, and I used a razor scraper to get rid of a lot of silicone that I had in here. I probably overdid it, and it's not perfect, but you got to remember both the sides and the background are going to be covered with new backgrounds in this build, so I only care about the front. But as you can see, it looks pretty damn good right now. I will show you, here is the razor scraper that I use. I use a big one, $4 at Home Depot. These are great, cheap, comes with 5 blades. And then I'm going to show you Barkeeper's Friend, which I saw in other DIY videos. I used to use Comet, but I really like this. This seems to work. And now over here is my other, where I have my animals right now, just in little holding tanks and plants with little air stones. So that should be good for now. And the other thing I wanted to mention is that I cleaned all of this with rubbing alcohol. So we are in pretty good shape, and on to the next step. Hey everybody, so we are going to be drilling our bulkheads for our external canister filter for this new Paludarium. This is my diamond bit hole saw set, came on Amazon, goes from 2 inches down to 1/4 inch, which is great. I am using 3/4 inch bulkheads, which I got from Lifeguard Aquatics. These are double threaded, so you can see there's threading on the inside, on both sides, so it's either your intake or outtake, it doesn't matter. And the right size for that, at least for this, is my 1.5 inch, which will fit nicely over, just barely over the threading. You always want to have it a little, just slightly bigger than the threading, so you know it's going to fit over it. Or you have to risk doing a smaller drill bit and then going to a larger one and then potentially cracking the glass. Measure 10 times, cut once is what I say. So this piece of wood here is just a guide. As you can see, the drill bit fits nicely into that, and it keeps the drill bit from dancing around on the glass and screwing it up. Some people like to go at an angle. I do not like doing that. I just think this is a lot easier. I will film this in time lapse so you can see it, just depending how long it takes. If you don't see it, it is because it took way too long. But here we go. And so here we are. We have these 2 nice holes drilled at this point in the glass. As you can see, I already put the bulkheads in. They fit nicely, and I actually already did a leak test. So there's no leaks, which is great. And you can see here it's really smooth on the inside. I actually used a little wetted down sandpaper just to smooth it out. I'll put my finger in there. It is totally fine. And so we are off to the next step. So we've got the holes drilled, water tested, we are good. Now we need to make the frame, which will hold the hardscape. This is weird, it looks like one of those 3D puzzles that you can see like something in the background, like a sailboat. I don't know what the hell this is. Anyways, here is the egg crate. More of it, there's tons of it. I'm gonna make the frame to support the hardscape and to support the weight of the rocks that I'm gonna foam in, and rock and sticks and everything like that, and driftwood. So I have 2 sides, the background, which is about 20 some inches, and then the 15 by 17 inches for these sides. And I'll probably put like little support beams on either side as well, to brace them in. But I'm also going to start building structures for land areas. Right now, in the old tank that I had with the newts, I had like a drainage layer, and I had like soil and like really rich substrate with with springtails and isopods. I don't really think I need all that. I mean, they hide under rocks and stuff, but they never burrow, to be honest. So I'm probably going to do something without a drainage layer, without any dirt. I'm going to try to use some ferns that will grow an aquatic substrate and it's just going to be less messy. I'll still add springtails. I might even throw a few isopods in onto the land parts, although just because I'm going to have wood and I know they can live on that. All right, so we were able to get, I cut all the pieces, siliconed them in like usual. It's almost completely adhered at this point, as you can see. So I have the framing. I don't have anything on the ground yet. What I do have are these, you can see, I've created these boxes with egg crate and zip ties. I actually saw, I've been using egg crate for a long time, but I'm gonna try something a little different. I saw something that, if you watch Tanner Serpa on Serpa Design, the guy's amazing. He does tons of, a lot of really cool paludariums. He also does a lot of aquascaping, but I saw with one of his latest DIY videos, he made it kind of like an island structure for his firebelly toads. And I usually use this stuff anyways, but I like the way he did it, and he kind of made little islands. I don't actually know that I'm gonna make islands, but one thing he did, which I liked, was he wrapped the egg crate in weed fabric or some kind of geotextile fabric. I don't really know what he uses, but I had this weed fabric that I've used for my false bottoms. And so I'm gonna use this on the outside, one, to cover the white. I'm gonna foam and put rocks and other kind of, hardscape elements on all these things like driftwood, but I am going to wrap each one like I did here with zip ties. Leave the bottom so you can silicone it to the bottom of the tank. But yeah, so I'm making some structures for like little land areas. I'm gonna have the water about an inch above that bulkhead right there. So, probably about an inch above that. So about 5.5, 6 inches of water in here. So it should be about yay high. Yeah, I'm gonna have these land areas and then some other driftwood in the water, places where the newts can haul out on. So yeah, I will come back to you when I'm done doing this, and you can see all the structures before I start doing the real part of the hardscape. Hey everyone, so we are at the point now where this is vertical. I am working on it, the hardscape, but I'm starting on the sides, and this is going to be a pretty basic design. I'm going to be using a lot of this slate that I have here, and then a little bit of moss. I'm going to use these different color slate pieces where I'm going to build a little waterfall right there, which is going to be right in the middle. I'm going to use a lot of driftwood. I'm reusing some of the old driftwood. And there's another cool piece. So there's going to be some moss growing, I think, over on this wall. But on the sides, I'm going to keep it pretty bare. I didn't want to overdo it in this one with just kind of moss growth everywhere. So I'm going to do the sides in rock and driftwood, and then I'm going to do a lot of Java moss around the bottom. I usually don't do that with native species here in the US. But for the newts, I'm going to have a lot of Java moss and Java ferns because it's already been in their old enclosure. So there's just going to be a lot of aquatic plants. So there's going to be more plants in the water than on the outside this time. But yeah, this is it. We're starting now. I'm starting to foam. As you can see, I wait for it to dry a little bit, and then I just kind of knead it in with my fingers. I will put gloves on. I had gloves on. I go through about a box of gloves every time I build something. It's terrible. But yeah, so I kind of just piece these slate pieces together, and then what I'll do is crush up some stone, hopefully if I have enough, and I will make some powder, and then where there's this black foam in between where I can't kind of get rid of it, I'll carve what I can, but I'll probably super glue some of that dust in so it doesn't look crappy. But yeah, so just starting on this, and I will come back when I have more of the background done. It's just way too long even to film in time lapse. It takes forever. It would be boring to watch. So I am going to come back when I've pieced some more together, but really that's just how I do it, just like a puzzle. All right, so now you can see I've done quite a bit, and I didn't film a lot of this because it took me a very, very long time. But as you can see, I have foamed in a lot of these rocks, these slate pieces, different color slate. Some is brown, some is gray color, a lot of driftwood, and I'm sorry for the lighting, it's bad, the light that's out, but as you can see, a lot of driftwood, areas for plants, like little islands. There will be a waterfall coming out of here. Put a big piece of driftwood there, so it should all kind of splash all over the place. I'm hoping to plant some moss and liverworts on this back wall. Nothing's going to really grow on the sides. I don't have a drip wall in this one. I didn't really want one for this enclosure, but a lot of wood is going to give the newts a lot of places to hide. And so I'm just going to wait for the foam to dry, and then I'm going to start carving it out. I've already carved most of the background out. I actually carved some, and then I actually have a drill bit with a wire brush that it gets messy, but it's a lot quicker. So I'm going to wait for this, and then the other thing I was thinking, so it doesn't look so crappy. I hate how you can see the black foam that I've kind of matted down. What I think I'm going to do is buy some ground stone dust. It's too hard to make it on your own. It's just, you got to sit there with a hammer, and then you kind of can just super glue it in. I'll either do that or do some other moss. The problem is that water's not going to reach it, so I'm going to have to spray it like 3 times a day, which would be pretty annoying, and I don't want the moss to die. So I'm going to try to get a similar color stone dust for between a lot of the rocks on the top part and some of these other parts on the side where the water won't fit. But I'm going to have a lot of Java moss that will probably start to creep up, hopefully, out of the water in the liverwort. So I will come to you with the next steps. All right, so as you can see, I have covered a lot of the surfaces in the water that'll be in the water part with this fabric. It's not 100% perfect. There's like little spots, but these are going to be covered with moss and liverworts and Java moss and things like that. But I covered a lot of spots where I think water is going to get. Now, there's still areas here where there's carved foam, and instead of putting this fabric, I think I'm just gonna, I can't find enough, and I can't make enough of the stone dust that I need, because there's a lot of places where I need to put stone dust. So I think I'm actually gonna use cocoa fiber and make it, and maybe some sphagnum moss and things like that, and kind of, I think it'll look kind of cool. So it's the most practical thing I can do right now, because I can't make it like a cohesive look like, you know, like some of these are bigger stones. It's just gonna be way too difficult, and probably won't end up looking right. So I am going to use some cocoa fiber and probably some silicone, or maybe this is the super glue I use, by the way. It's just Gorilla super glue gel. I've always used it for years. But all right, well, I will bring you to the next step here shortly. All right, so I went through and I put some cocoa fiber and some sphagnum moss in between some of these cracks, especially at the top where I definitely know water's gonna reach. Gotta vacuum it out again. Just did it, but a lot of dust in there, but it looks pretty good. So I've got all this in there, and then there's gonna be a lot of things growing in here too. So I'm gonna be planting next after I clean it up. And also wipe the glass down with some rubbing alcohol, and I will show you once it's done being planted. All right, everybody, so here we go. Here's the final product. It is the Eastern Newt Paludarium. As you can see, I planted the Java moss here in the water. I'm gonna zoom in on that. You can see that underneath. Moss on top, liverworts all over the place. You can see them a little bit up there. You can see moss and liverworts kind of spread out throughout this setup. And then you can see I've also planted the Java ferns and ubias, swords, things like that. More Java moss everywhere. There's a lot of Java moss in the back there. So this is going to be a very appropriate enclosure for the Eastern newts. There's 2 areas for them to haul out, pretty big. There's only 3. I only have 3 newts, and I just see this huge spider walking by. A little distraction. Anyways, yeah, really happy with the way this turned out. I did put some nerites in here already. I used some of the, I used a little bit of the old water from the old tank, so it was fine. And some of the old substrate is also in there, so I felt like I could put the snails in already. I am gonna add some springtails here, and then I will have a very brief last clip of this DIY when I'm putting in the 3 Eastern newts into the enclosure. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for this next scene here and when we conclude. Thanks. Okay, so we are about to introduce the Eastern newts into this awesome new habitat. I did add some leaves, some botanicals. You can kind of see here and there. They're just hard to see really, right? Yeah, there's some right there. I put some springtails in. I put a few isopods, dwarf whites, just a couple of them on either side, on either island. And also I have some amphipods, which are like land shrimp or yard shrimp or whatever they're called, which are also like a crustacean. I just had a bunch of those in they were basically in all my isopod cultures, and they don't really do anything. They're not bad, so they're also good. Do the same thing that isopods do. So I put several of those in too, and hopefully it'll start a small colony on either side. But without further ado, what I wanted to do was to put these guys in. And as you can see, here are my eastern newts. I have 3 of them. They've all been, being lucky, they've been eating, getting pretty fat in here because it's easier to catch food. Small container, this is just some of the substrate from the old. So what I'm gonna do is start to grab these guys gently. So here's one. I'm gonna put him in this little island here. There we go. So he's in. Let's get these guys. Oops. Yeah, I wear gloves. You know, you're not supposed to touch, you know, we have toxins in our skin and salt, and even if you rinse your hand with RO water, this is just a little safer. You don't, probably not necessary all the time, but I just like to do it. Let's get this last one in here. Okay, this one's squirming. There we go. These are great specimens. I love these guys. Let's see. And there we are. They are in their new home. Not moving, probably just a little stunned. But yeah, this has been a really fun build. I think next I'm gonna do a forest floor, maybe with a mini drip wall. I might do it for this tiger salamander tank. That's a 75 on the canister filter. I don't really, I mean, it's functional, it's okay. Some people like it. I feel like I could do better. You know, where you don't have to see the false bottom and everything, and just have it done with the sides and everything. But yeah, I think I might redo theirs, or I might redo this one. I really like this setup. It's got a little stream, and but this setup is, it has this Reptifilter in there, which is, I don't really think does a good job. I mean, it's probably good for small tanks. This is a 40-gallon breeder. I might redo this one. There's actually nothing in here. I had my red salamander in here, but he was getting lost all the time, and so I put him into that drip wall paludarium on the right down there. But what I think I'm going to do here probably is redo this one too at some point, or if I can find something that is appropriate for this, maybe I'll do that. But I'd like to really kind of clean this one out. There's a lot of hard water stains, and it was fun to build, but it's really established itself. But I think that I'll probably you know, do something else with it. But anyways, I will be back to you with another build. I don't know when, but this is the ultimate Eastern Newt Paludarium. And as you can see, these guys are already trying to escape, which is why you have a heavy fitting screen lid so they cannot get out. Because they will climb glass. Unlike tiger salamanders, these guys will climb everything. Actually, so will tiger salamanders, but anyways, well, thanks a lot, and we'll talk to you soon.